don't you take just brief words about why you are not contesting? Because you are one of the few NDC MPs who have voluntarily decided not to contest the 2024 election. It's not like you lost the primaries, like Dr. Kwabena Donko. But there's a message from Dr. Okomensan who says that he wants you to put your beautiful thoughts into a book and that he will support the initiative if you decide to write a book about your experience in Parliament and how that can also benefit, you know, subsequent. I think we should encourage likes of us, HMS, and all these people to write books for people to read. I think that's one of the ways of retaining the memory and making that an experience also benefit Parliament subsequently. Indeed. People, I'll have Mr. Ahiagbah respond to a number of things before you talk about this substantive issue. Ahiagbah, is there a specific plan, or orchestrated plan to as it were, get some of your MPs out because of certain stance that they took? For instance, about Kenoforiata and so on and so forth.
Yeah, thank you.
Expect him to say yes.
Thank you very much. And
it's like the same parliament issue. You can't say that. If he says yes,
even if I hadn't asked him, he would have had to respond to it. Because those are some of the yes.
So I wish your viewers a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year in advance. My senior, I haven't seen him in a while, and my co-panelist, a very good morning to you.
And your best friend, Martin.
Oh yes, of course. Yeah, I think that, so I'm doing this in reverse. The idea that some MPs are targeted is entirely not accurate. If there is one thing, and this is out there to be verified, our General Secretary has taken a very firm position in insisting that everyone should be allowed to contest. And if you saw in the directives announcing the parliamentary elections or primaries for our MPs, it was made such that if there was any orchestration to deny anybody access at the constituency level, that person has recourse to buy the form from the regional level. If there was any attempt there to seize anybody's access from participating in the primaries, the person has recourse to buy the form from the national level. One of the things that he has insisted and continuously all throughout the primary process, even in the presidential primaries, is to say that let's allow everyone to contest. Now, what I guess my senior is trying to define into a party blocking or people being targeted is that the space is a competitive space.
Is it competitive or uneven? Because there are some, the space can be competitive but be unfairly or unevenly positioned to, as it were, favor a certain agenda or a certain cause.
I don't know if people can give evidence of that, fine, but the individuals can speak to it, right? They are elements on their own. They can advocate or say that things are being done unfairly. And so if you see unfairness happening and you think that that is going against your interest and you can't say it, then nobody else can say it for you. But I haven't heard anybody say it. But he says that people are saying it in private. That's cowardice. If you see something being done that is not acceptable, speak about it. But if you say it in quiet and moving about, it may, one, be a lie. Okay, that is not true. That you yourself, you are afraid of some contest, and so therefore you are blaming other people for what you are afraid of doing. So I have told you, and the evidence is out there, that this national executive, led by the national chairman and general secretary conducting these primaries, have made it clear that anyone and everyone who wants to contest, they have the liberty to do so. So there is no second guessing anybody on that. If I tell you the same thing, if you call anybody in the national executive, call the national chairman, general, they will tell you the same thing. And the documents are out there to verify that. So for me, that's not a problem.
There are some issues. Does it also concern you as a party? And I think Nilante also mentioned the NDC's own concern about the increasing monetization, because there are some of them, these are some of the push factors that we're talking about. Some of them decided that, look, I don't even want to be faced with this embarrassment of being priced out of my desire to continue to be in Parliament, because somebody is coming in with deep pocket, big money, and splashing it around, I may not have that much money. And we've seen continuously the sharing of money, which as a party, not too long ago, you issued a statement that you're going to investigate the sharing of money to delegates in the recent primaries in the orphan constituencies as well. And so when you hear the concern that some of them have expressed, that, you know what, this person who has showed up to contest me has so much money, so let me not even go and embarrass myself as a person.
Well, you see, so the injection of money into our politics is a function of competition.
It's a function of competition.
Function of competition. So that individuals who are seeking to win that competition want to do everything possible within their means to win the competition. It is not an institutionalized function that you must necessarily give money. But I am engaging with you here. When Martin was speaking, I was taking notes because I'm trying to get facts to undo what he has said. So it's naturally a function of how I want to argue and how he was arguing. He also put his fact together so he can undo you. That is something the political parties can curtail. Political parties can come up with measures to deal with that. It's in the NDC, it happens, I've seen, but it is not something sanctioned by the political parties. It is people's desire that in this contest, I want to win. And when people are jostling for things, you do what you can within your control to put yourself ahead. That is something that, for me, all of us can, find a way to deal with. One, the political parties. I've been talking to people about this anytime this come up and say, look, the political parties can seize the platform for these elections. So instead of allowing the MPs to go and canvass and do what it is they do, you create a platform, okay? Whatever filing fee they are going to pay is enough, okay? So that you can run the election on a day. Create a platform, maybe if it twice or once, that all the delegates are assembled. The MPs can make their case, and the people vote. As opposed to the open space, parliamentary aspect. Yeah, all the candidates who want to contest will come and then make their case, and then and they elect, or make rules such that it is prohibitive to use money as a leverage to win the seat.
But how's that going to work?
So I'm saying that you make a rule. Part of the election rules to say that if you are seen, if there is evidence that you are using money to price out other people, if you're using money to buy your way into office, quite apart from your propositions, your ideas, and what you want to do, being your lead, if you're using money and it's seen or there's evidence, you will be disqualified. That will put all of us, assuming we're all contesting for a seat, we'll all become polices of each other.
So
and
there will be some punitive
that
measure.
process then will ensure that we take that away from our money away from our politics. Because I see it to be unsustainable. Okay? That is one of the things that, in terms of the quality that you're talking about, in terms of the readiness of people who come, it's one thing that we need to look at. It's a critical thing that threatens our democracy. And so for that, I have the sympathy if we can think about a way to take that out. Really. But you see, it is only the fact that you always are arguing the wrong things. That's why we don't agree.
Indeed. So you are different in opinion.
Right. So the point for me is that on that front, we need to do something about
So there should be some punishment that if you are seen, for instance, in this case where some envelopes had the branding of a particular parliamentary candidate being shared around, there should be some punitive measure. If that's seen, that person will be disqualified.
Yeah. So it will be part of the rule. So you won't even get there once it's seen. Because I'm contesting.
All the parties have that rule already.
It's an existing rule.
Yes.
Okay. So what? If
Our election system is even frowns on people giving money out for elections.
No, what I'm saying is, okay, so if that is there on the books, then you need to
so why is it not
that.
being enforced?
But technically, what I am talking about...
You know what they do? They say we are giving transport.
No, but that, there's an aspect of that I can explain. See, if what you're saying probably is on the books, but specifically part of the election rules. So what we do when people buy the nomination forms and all of that, there are specified rules guiding that specific election. So those rules are express. And if you have that put in there, then you then prevent people from flouting that rule, because that rule you must be able to adhere to it or you are disqualified, right? So other incidental rules that are there and all of that exists probably is a part of mass law, right? But if you have expressly on the form that you must meet these conditions, then perhaps you are bringing forward this condition and that you are ready to enforce it part of the election. So I think that narrows it down a bit and probably can give us a bit more leverage. So I think we can work on that.
Okay.
But I think, Alfred, your cardinal question for the discussion about MPs leaving Parliament is the impact it would have on human resource.
Indeed.
Right? Because you're looking at these
And in fact, even the work of Parliament, because now we've talked about the oversight role and so on, which is critical, because we can't talk about these MPs, experienced MPs leaving Parliament, and not talk about the impact that Parliament itself has had. So that continuously we have certain bills or loans and other items going through Parliament, not even specific to this 8th Parliament, but going through Parliament. And it is always the case that the majority should have its way and the minority should just have its say at the expense of the Ghanaian people who put them there. That's where the concern is.
Well, you see, so I don't know, unless the enterprise this morning is to rethink democracy and try to figure out a whole new way of doing democracy. This is what we got. Everywhere else that we are quoting, the Scandinavia, wherever, all the places that you're quoting, even America, the rules are such that they are what they are. And all these things that we are complaining about happens in those parliaments as well. Yeah, I'm saying that.
Improve on the situation.
Yeah, well, improve over how many years? So I'm saying that the question about representation, it is not to create gridlock, right? It is to build consensus. That's the nature of democracy. You build consensus. So there are a lot of things that you disagree with as an MP representing people from Ketu South, right? There are a lot of things that can come. You look at your people and say, no, this won't work, this won't work, this won't work. So you can technically disagree with everything, right? But you have to reach a consensus position. That's why we need a critical mass of people to agree that, yes, at minimum, we are willing to execute this. And that's how the thing moves along. Because otherwise, you want to say that every individual must agree on every single thing before we move forward. That is dysfunction. That's chaos. You can't have that. So you govern that way. Now, the thinking, which I will agree with you, which I have a problem with our MPs, is that, look, they don't consult with their people much. And that becomes a problem where there's a law and then they say, oh, the government is not consulting. Right? That the government, they just brought tax, they don't consult, they bring this, they didn't consult. The MP should do that.
MP should do that consultation.
Hold on. Ours is a representative democracy, isn't it? It's not a direct democracy. It's a representative democracy, which we are carrying through the MPs, so that all of us across this country have been summed into 275 people in Parliament. But in actual fact, it's the 30 million of us who are in that Parliament. So if Honorable Nilante wants to vote on e-levy, he goes there and says, well, government is brought so and so. He has a system in his constituency. Then he engages his people. If he hasn't done that, he will say the government has not consulted, right? But if he goes and says, look, what do you people think about this? On the basis of what you think, I'm going to vote. Because that's really what he's doing. He's voting the conscience of his constituency. So if he does that consultation, right, whatever the outcome of that is, in that case also a majority position is what he carries, to say that my people think that this is a good thing to vote. So the assumption we make out of everything that has happened in Parliament is that our MPs have consulted their people, and what vote they casted is the vote of their people. So I don't think that the problem is so much that Parliament is a little more ceding or appear to be doing a bidding of the executive. It is not. it must do its work. If you have a parliament that will just create gridlock, nothing gets done, would your democracy move forward? Will your processes move forward? Like the good example Marcilia was giving about e-levy and the budget in their time. What then happens? How do you move forward, right? And we saw that. We almost got to a breaking point. You make concessions, you agree and disagree with issues, and you deal with the matters and say, on this matter, let's agree A, B, C, D, and get the thing done. So for me, our parliament has done what they are supposed to do. The cardinal issue of people, about I think 18 or so, people not contesting from our side, I think that it will create a void, especially the kind of experience they have. Yes, it'll create serious void. Now,
Jogate as well.
Jogate, yeah. So the Japan, I think, Kennedy Japan, Jose Wusu, I think these are attaching out. They've been there for a long time. So now, that is something that our democracy has evolving would take care of over time, because MPs like Osei Chairman Sabonso, for example, it's an institution, right? For how long he's been there. In fact, he's seen, but for the first 4 years of Rawlings, he's been in Parliament, right? And so this is an individual who cannot just fade into the sunset. And because our democracy is still young and enterprise in this country is still young, lobbying is minimal in our country. Otherwise, he goes into enterprise, he goes into lecturing, he goes into writing, that his experience goes back into nurturing parliamentarians. He goes into consulting. So his experience practically may not be in parliament, but it will be fed into many people. So my party, for example, will have him, okay, on a certain board or, a certain committee that will be preparing new MPs, that will be helping new MPs who come to Parliament to appreciate the workings of Parliament. I think that our democracy will grow to that point, and opportunities in our system will allow for these individuals to feed into the spaces that are available, so that their experience and knowledge is not just lost to Parliament and to the states just because they are not in Parliament. So I think that is one thing that we have to do and look at.
Okay.
But you see, there's a lot of things here. I think when...
Just maybe just one.
Quick one.
Yes,
quick one.
It is not, I don't want to look at it from the point of view of the number of years the person has stayed in Parliament. The impact the person's presence in Parliament has made in the work of Parliament. That is what we must measure. Not the number of years. Some people can stay in Parliament for 20 years, but will not offer Parliament anything. But somebody can be in Parliament for 4 years, but the person's impact in... Let me give you an example. Sosu has been in Parliament for how many years? 3 years. But look at least 2 significant private members' bills he has initiated.
Francis Xavier Sosu,
Yes.
the Madina MP.
You understand?
Okay.
Those are the things I wanted. Those are the things I wanted. KPIs I want to set, that we are measuring members of Parliament. Because the number of years, really, for example, let me tell you.
So tell me,
Up to today,
tell me one
of the
person.
key people who have left Parliament, that me, sitting, I think has affected Parliament so much, was lawyer S.K. Boafo. The former MP for Akropong. All the bills, all the laws were passed in Parliament from the day I entered Parliament. He was so instrumental in the drafting, in the crafting, and in the, let me say, passing of those legislations. I'm being frank with you. Chairman Sabonso, when it comes to time that we need to look at bills, you can't. He spends hours. He spends nights in his office with a team looking at it and move to Adam. Ahiagbah, former MP, Yelechre. These people, Yelechre did not stay in Parliament for long. He was there for 3 terms. So, but the impact he's made, in a lot of the legislations we have passed. You have no idea. So those are the things I was.
Okay.
Akachia, for example,
yeah.
is leaving. There are some of the people who are leaving, and to me, they will not create any void.
Okay. Well,
Right.
that's
Okay.
by your assessment. But you see, for me, I was going to challenge you to tell me one person you think who is leaving that is of no consequence.
Okay.
That has stayed there long. I don't think we can get to that conversation.
It will
But-
it will be appropriate for me to say it.
Yeah, so
Indeed.
I won't assume that at all, because I think that everybody has something to contribute. If for nothing at all, there are people, put them there, they've got some experience. Even the basic rudiments of going through the processes in the house is experience. If you bring somebody in fresh, you have to teach him that process. So definitely, that individual has created a void that needs to be filled. So everybody has value. The key thing for me is how is it that the parties are preparing the people so that they are ready to hit the ground running when they go to parliament. And when people such as the ones that we're talking about who have been there with considerable experience are leaving, how is parliament preparing to move on with its work with the requisite training processes to allow for the new ones to fill the shoes of those people that have really left parliament. Apart from that, I don't think that is anything catastrophic. It's just in the nature of democracy. People come, people go, people retire, people move on, people do things. So that for me is nothing consequential.
It is.
Because you want to respond to a number of
Yes.
things on this particular
Yes.
issue, I just want Lawyer Bobby Banson to just make an input, because the other issues will move on to the other matters that, for instance,
Are you sure?
people raise, right?
Okay.
So, Lawyer Bobby Banson, just a quick thought on this particular one, this particular issue. Yes, Lawyer Bobby Banson.
Hi, Alfred. I was really enjoying the discussion so far. It's always a pleasure to sit and listen to such experienced persons share their thoughts on such national issues. I almost wish you would not have to call me so that I can continue enjoying. But I have a few thoughts, my own, to share. I think, can you hear me?
I can hear you clearly.
Okay. I think that it's fair to put some blame on the political parties as well, who put up these, that is on the issue of the gap when there's retirement, either, as Dr. Roman said, either they are being pushed, they are being pulled, or they jump. When people decide to leave parliament, the gap that is created. You see, like, we've all agreed, parliament is one major part of governance, and because of its representative nature, you cannot do away without it. And so it's very important that we look at the critical role that parliament creates so that there's no loss of institutional capabilities, not individual capabilities,
Right.
but institutional capabilities. I would want to take it from the political party perspective. And I'm happy Mr. Richard Ahiagbah is here. I think some time ago I read of the MPP establishing like a school, which they said was going to be headed by, I think, Professor Bonzi Simpson. Now, I don't know if it happened or it has not happened, but this discussion has drawn my attention to that. The purpose of that school, as I read, was to, one, identify persons with leadership capabilities. And this will not be new to Ghana. It happens in a lot of political parties in other established democracies have this system where they will pick people that have exhibited leadership skills, groom them over time for roles such as legislative functions.
Right.
So that they when it is time that they think that they are ready to be put there in parliament, then they find them, they are allowed to go and then stand for parliament positions or MPs in wherever that the constitution allows them to stand for. The reason why I'm looking at the role of the political parties is that it is the political parties that present the parliamentarians to the citizens to vote for. And so if the political parties present the wrong persons, and I'm using the wrong persons, advisedly in the context of our discussions, or for lack of a better word, people who do not have the capabilities to fit that criteria or to play that role, then you have a problem. You cannot put something or nothing and expect it to stand. And so if you pick, like Honorable Nilante said, if you pick somebody who has been a pupil teacher all his life, and the first time he appears in politics is to stand for the role of a parliamentarian. And because maybe he has the backing, the financial clout, without any form of proper training, he does not, or he wins the seat. He goes to parliament. Trust me, I do not think that they will learn anything within that 2 days or 3 days that they are being prepared for to be able to discharge their roles as required of them by the Constitution. And so I think that the political parties should themselves decide to invest in the persons that they put up to be elected for these positions by concentrating on these schools or things like that. And Mr. Honorable Lantevan, we are there. I think in your constituency, you may have faced a similar situation. Maybe, I'm not putting you on the spot, where in your opinion, and I'm following media reportage, so you can correct me if I'm wrong, there was a candidate that you thought had the capabilities to discharge the roles of an MP, which the media report was that you openly said you think that he fits the purpose.
Correct.
But the grassroots, or as it were, as they are saying, the party disqualified that person. And so, if that person, and I think it's Mr. Nee Boy also, Michael.
Yeah, boy,
yes. So if Boy actually is somebody who has the capabilities to be a member of parliament, and everybody knows Mr. Landeva, you played a big role in parliament, to come and fit your shoes or try to build on the legacy that you've left behind for the Odododio constituency. And the party people say, no, we don't want him. Then you find ourselves in a lacuna that parliament cannot fail on itself. Because if you give parliament materials that are not worth that status, parliament cannot change it. And so I think the political parties should take this thing about establishing these institutions in whatever form, pick people with leadership skills. Because you see, when we monetize our democracy, we get to a stage where it dies automatically, like Mr. Martin Pebu has been saying. We'll get to a time that the people will be too angry, that we can no longer practice democracy in a way that we are seeing it now. And if democracy dies, the first line of persons who will be out of job are politicians, properly so-called, or political parties. And so the Constitution acknowledged the role of political parties, that they shape the political discourse, socioeconomic views of the country. And so if the political parties are not conscious about the kind of persons they put up for leadership roles, we should not go back and blame parliament. Other than that, the presidency from whatever political party will sit one day and say that, okay, in this constituency, I want this person to be there. In that constituency, I want this person to be there. And then whether the political party likes it or not, whether the people think that that person has the capabilities or not, they have no option than to take what the presidency says because we are monetizing it. Now that leads me to the second discussion of whether or not we think that we should get to a time where there should be state funding of political activities. Because I think that if we gradually prepare ourselves towards that, it will take away a lot of the monetization. Because then it becomes an issue of the person who can buy votes. You read in the news, somebody says that, me, I have set aside $1 million only for my primaries. How much is the salary of an MP? And so you see that the person is coming there not to discharge the constitutionally set out mandate of a legislature, but he's not going to throw one. It's a business venture for him. He put in $1 million. He expects to make profit. And so he goes there. He doesn't focus on what his role actually is. It's how to make money. But if we build these leadership schools and we have the country sponsoring political activities so that every single penny from any political activity. There was a time that we attempted to ask, when they passed the RTI bill, whether into law, we asked on behalf of a client, the Electoral Commission, whether or not the political parties have filed their returns. If yes, from when to when, whether they've attached the necessary evidence of the source of funding. And you see that that law is not implemented. And because by that law, if it is not implemented, the Electoral Commission is mandated to strike out the names of political parties that do not comply with that law from their books.
Right.
So the major culprits are the two major political parties.
Well, but
Are we going to go for a break?
yes.
Okay.
We're not go for,
I
so
thought
because it will lead us into the next issue, and I just put it on record that the issues you want to respond to, there will be some few minutes to do that. I want to just say that on the back of what Bobby Banson has said, it leads us into the Controller and Accountant General. He wants to contest on the ticket of the NPP in the Achim Shwedu constituency. He's the sitting Controller and Accountant General. I'm talking about Kwesi Kwening Bosompem. He has not resigned. And the Civil and Local Government Staff Association, CLOCSAC, have also come out to ask him to resign. That's Isaac Bampoado, indicating that if it is indeed the case that he wants to contest, which has been confirmed, because he picked up his nomination form on the 20th of December at the party office to contest. What does the law say specifically? And is the calls for him to resign, is it supported in law? What is the MPP itself going to do if the man decides not to resign? Because as we speak, we haven't seen any resignation letter as yet. This is the issue. Right after this quick break. Stay with us. We'll be back shortly.